Weigh In is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Jamie, it's great to see you back on home shores here in New Zealand, back for the Karaka Yearling sales, of course. An awesome time to catch up with you and find out how it's all been going in Hong Kong. I guess a good starting point is what's it been like starting from scratch in a foreign country?
It's been a challenging time, but you know, we knew, well, I guess we didn't really know what we were in for, but we knew that we were moving to a new place to set up our life and our home, and start a new business venture. But it has been it's been a challenge. Had to get out and do a lot of socialising, meet a lot of people. And as the new boy in town, that is a luxury that you're afforded. Everybody wants to meet you and see what you've got to offer, and then maybe give you a horse. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but it's starting to become a little bit easier now.
Was it what you expected?
Probably not. Like, you know, I thought I was an okay trainer here, and I just sort of get up there and I just sort of do what I did at home, and just as an example, give them Sunday off and just sort of work them 6 days a week. But it's completely foreign. It doesn't work like that up there. If you give them a day off, they come out of the box the next day like lunatics. So it's 7 days a week. Every day there's something happening, the horses are working, and basically you sort of turn them into robots into that system. Did
you go there with a plan, and have you been able to stick to that plan, or is it very much adapting on the job?
I think you've got to adapt. Sort of, I guess I arrived in town, as I said earlier, sort of thinking it might have been a little bit easier than what it was, but now that we're getting a sort of a consistent flow of winners, it's becoming a little bit easier, and you know, you enjoy training winners, but it's also a big relief because your owners are happy, and the owners' friends are happy, and the staff are happy, and it is a big flow-on effect. So when you're winning, it's a great place, but when you're not going so well, it can be a bit testing. And
I guess that means that the first 3 to 6 months you're under a lot of pressure, aren't you?
Well, you're afforded a little bit of time to settle in, but then once the horses are not running as well as what you might think they should be, then a couple of them leave and go somewhere else. And as I say, it's very cutthroat, but we are starting to understand the system better now. The horses are starting to race better. When we first arrived, we had a lot of sort of second and third string horses from other trainers, and it's very hard to improve those horses. But now that we're getting into the sort of the second half of the season, we've got some of the younger horses coming out and starting to run well, which gives you a bit of confidence that you sort of got your systems and your processes right. We've certainly had to adjust, and that was something that Paul O'Sullivan said to me: you have to adjust because this is nothing like home.
A team is always a very important part of what you're doing, and when you left New Zealand, your fiancée Danielle Johnson, a leading New Zealand rider, went with you. How important has it been having a support person there?
Danielle's been great. She's obviously a bubbly person, and she makes things fun, and when things aren't going as you want them to, she's also good to sort of say, you know, it's not the end of the world, you just got to keep going. So yeah, she's been a massive support, and she's ready made for Hong Kong. Like, she enjoys a drink and a nice meal and a bit of shopping, so she's really enjoying it.
And her racing knowledge as well is invaluable, because she understands the industry, doesn't she? Has she got a role sort of within the business?
Well, she gets the rods out of her legs from her fall last January next week, and then she'll be able to start riding a little bit of track work, which will be quite cool. It's taken sort of 6 months of paperwork and visas to get her visa organised. I was sort of hurrying the visa application along. I'm not sure if she was sort of pumping the brakes a little bit in the background. Yeah. Particularly at the moment when it is a little bit colder. But yeah, looking forward to her being able to help with the track work. But obviously she's very involved in entertaining owners and getting along to the races and seeing what's going on. And as you say, it's I guess a bit of a reality check when things are going bad, but she can still see the horses are running well. Sort of keeps your spirits up a bit higher. So yeah, she's a very important part of it all.
Staff is a really big factor up there in Hong Kong, who you're working with, the team closest to you. Aside from Danielle, tell me about the team that you've got in place.
So I guess the main point is that you have an assistant trainer up there, and he's a local, so he can speak Cantonese and English, and our assistant trainer is a guy called Jones Ma. He's a really good guy. He's got a good way with the staff. He speaks good English, which is good for us. It's a very structured system. So there's the assistant trainer, then there's the head lads, and then there's the riding boys, and then there's the mafus, and they're the guys that look after the horses. And each mafu looks after about three or four horses. And there is quite a strong language barrier between an expat trainer and the guys that are speaking Cantonese and don't speak a lot of English, and that's where your head lads and your riding boys and your assistant trainer are very important, because they communicate with the wider staff. So yeah, it's very important, and luckily we've got Jones, who's, as I say, got a good way with the staff, but he's also very well connected with owners. And he's been able to get a few horses into the stable and introduce me to a few new clients. So yeah, it's a very important part of it all.
Tell me about that first winner, because was that just a huge weight off your shoulders?
Oh, for sure. We'd sort of tried to set it up the first night that we would try and get a winner, and we drew a couple of bad gates and got caught deep, and I think we had a couple of thirds. But Handsome Rebel was our first winner at Happy Valley, and he was actually a horse that we trained here for John Galvin, Fortuna, before he was sold up to Hong Kong. So yeah, big relief to get one on the board, and yeah, it's very satisfying.
It was great to see you combine with a fellow Kiwi, James McDonald, for a winner the other day. Tell me about relationships with jockeys and who you've been working closely with.
Yeah, so it was great to have James on that horse the other night. He gave him a great ride, and not many people would have won on that horse. So it was very pleasing that firstly he accepted it, and then he rode it so well. But there's a wide variety of jockeys in Hong Kong, both local and expats from different areas of the world, from Europe, from France. Obviously there's a few from Australia, a few Aussies there, but obviously Zach's the leading rider, and he's been there a long time, and he understands the system, and Zach and Nicole have been great to Danielle and I, and sort of getting us set up and introducing us, you know, to the way that things work in Hong Kong. And Zach's become a good ally, and we try and get him as much as we can, but he's very hard to book. Like he's in high demand. If you want to get Zach, you need to be sort of thinking 4 or 5 weeks in advance. So it's very competitive. Just because somebody has ridden a horse well at its last start doesn't necessarily mean he's going to ride it again, and that's something that's taken a bit of getting used to. But as a trainer, if you want to be the best trainer that you can be, then you've got to get the best rider that you can get. And that's the cutthroat nature of training and riding.
You're here at Karaka, obviously, to buy some horses. Tell me what you're shopping for.
Just trying to buy nice horses, trying to buy fast horses. I've had a lot of success in my time at Te Akau with David Ellis buying our horses, and that's been a big part of my role, not only training but getting around and seeing the yearlings. And I think I've had a pretty good apprenticeship with Dave and with Joe Walls and other guys within the team there. So we're coming here to try and buy some nice horses that are going to suit the style of racing in Hong Kong, suit firm tracks, suit, you know, fast ground, running fast time. What's great for us is that Dad can get them ready for us and put the polish on them in Matamata, and might say yes, it's ready to come, or no, it's not ready to come, or it needs more time, or I think he's got above average ability, he can go up. So that's something that we will continue to work on and try and build, and I would like to have more influence on the quality of the horses that are coming in the door. Because you've only got 60 boxes, you really need to fill them up with the best quality stock that you can get. And as we continue to build our ownership base and our clientele, hopefully the quality of the horses will continue to improve.
You talk about your dad, Paul, and of course, Mum Leanne, sister Libby. You're a really tight-knit family. Has it been hard to be away from them? I
guess you miss your family and friends, particularly when things aren't going very well. But they're only a phone call away. You might have a bad night at Happy Valley and you're getting in the car on the way home and, you know, what am I doing? But then you just got to keep turning up next Sunday you might train a winner. But it's just getting a regular flow of winners. But Hong Kong is home. We have the opportunity, and we've been afforded a spot on the roster there to train the horses, so you just have to remember that every now and again. But yeah, we're looking forward to making Hong Kong our home and seeing what the next 10, 15 years brings.